Welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. It is Friday, and that can only mean one thing here at MTG Burgeoning. It is the Kitchen Table series, our longest running content series here on the channel. And in today's video, which is deck number 44, we're going to take a real fun look at a Grixis Donate deck. Hello and welcome back, MTG Burgeoning community. It is another edition of the Kitchen Table series. We are at deck tech number 44, and today, are we going to have some fun with this deck? We are going to have a lot of fun. Our opponents, not so much. No, they're probably not going to enjoy the creativity that we have spawned by creating such a generous and charitable deck. Well, that's for them to decide. We know what we're doing. So, as is customary here at the Kitchen Table series, let's begin with the land base. And since we're playing Grixis, we're going to have three colors, but we're heavily slanted towards the blue than we are of the other two colors. So let's start off with a handful of basic islands. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to play with 8 basic islands. We're going to include just one solitary, lonely, solo basic swamp for a total of 9 basic lands. We're going to include 2 copies of the Is It Checkland, which is the Sulphur Falls. Comes into play tapped unless we control an island or mountain, and taps for a blue or a red. All right, and next up, we're going to continue with our dual land representation here by including 2 copies of Sunken Hollow. This is the Dimir Battle Land from Battle for Zendikar. It enters the battlefield tapped unless we control 2 or more basic lands. Taps for a blue, taps for a black. They are island swamps. And now we're going to return to our check lands, and we're going to play with 3 copies of Drowned Catacomb. This is our Dimir check land. It'll give us a blue or a black mana, and it comes into play untapped as long as we control an island or a swamp. And as we shift the Drowned Catacomb to the right a little bit, exposing the fact that Sunken Hollow actually is island swamp, and Drowned Catacomb will come into play untapped if one of those are in play and under our control. And last for our lands, we are going to play with a full play set of another battle land. This one is going to be the Rakdos battle land of Smoldering Marsh. It's a swamp mountain, and just like the Sunken Hollows, it comes into play untapped as long as we control 2 or more basic lands. 4 copies of Smoldering Marsh. And of course, it is the kitchen table, so we are going to play with, there it is, our customary soul ring a ding dong, folks. That's our mana base right there, our lands, and our soul ring. All right, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we don't want to forget that we also included a couple of mana rocks here to help smooth over the mana of this 3-color kitchen table deck. And that's going to be 2 copies of Talisman of Creativity. It turns sideways for a colorless mana, or it turns sideways for a blue or red mana and deals a point of damage to us. 2 copies of the Talisman of Creativity. So that's 3 mana rocks to go with our lands, and the land and mana portion of our deck is now complete. So let us begin with a little bit of removal, because some of the things that we are so generous to give to our opponents, it's going to take a little time to set up. So we got to pack a little heavier removal than generally we would see during one of our kitchen table deck techs. So let's start with a full play set of Terminate. I love the fact that it says destroy target creature. It doesn't have any of the sometimes limiting choices like destroy target non-black creature, or destroy target non-artifact creature, or destroy target non-legendary creature. Terminate doesn't care what kind of creature you are. It's going to be a black and a red at instant speed, and you're going to destroy it, and it can't be regenerated. 4 copies of Terminate. Next up, staying on theme with our removal, we're going to include 2 copies of Bedevil, 2 black and a red. So pretty much this is a terminate that we add a black mana to, and by doing so, we remove the ability for the creature to not be regenerated, which really isn't that big of a deal because regeneration isn't exceedingly popular. And in so doing, by adding that extra black mana, we also get the option of destroying a target artifact or a target planeswalker. Truth be told, the only reason there are 4 copies of Terminate and 2 copies of Bedevil is because I don't have 4 copies of Bedevil. If I did, 2 copies of Terminate would definitely be replaced by 2 copies of Bedevil. So there they are, 2 Bedevils and 4 Terminates. All right, so let's talk about our giving. Let's talk about our charity. We are good people here at MTG Burgeoning, and we like to make sure that we spread the wealth amongst our players. And in so doing, we want to make sure that we have the spells needed in order to give our opponents the permanence that we so crave for them to possess. So let's begin with a full playset. We did say this was a Grixis Donate deck, so we can't say that without having a full playset of Donate. 2 in a blue. It's a sorcery, of course. Come on, camera, get in there. Come on, is it the face? There we go. Target player gains control of target permanent we control. 4 copies of Donate. However, because we want to make sure we can reach as many of our opponents as possible, just having 4 copies of Donate is just not enough. So let's complement those 4 copies with a full playset of Harmless Offering. It's 2 in a red, and it's from Eldritch Moon, and it reads, target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. So that's pretty much just another Donate in a different color with much cooler art. 4 copies of Harmless Offering. So now that we have 8 ways to reach out to our opponents, let's keep adding to that total. And we're going all the way back to Shadowmoor for this next card, and it's 1 copy of Puka's Mischief. It's 3 in a blue as an enchantment, and it reads, at the beginning of our upkeep, we may exchange control of target non-land permanent we control and target non-land permanent an opponent controls with an equal or lesser converted mana cost. Of course, these days that would be equal or lesser mana value. So with Puka's Mischief in play, we are able to donate some of our, let's just say, more endearing cards to our opponents and hopefully get back something with a lesser converted mana cost, which should not be a problem. 1 copy of Puka's Mischief. And that brings our total up to 9. All right, so now maybe we should start talking about some of the things that we want to donate to our opponents. Well, let's start with an artifact creature, and we're going way back in the day for this spell. 1 playset of Bronze Bombshell. It's an artifact creature for 4, and it has a 4/1 body, 4/1 power toughness. When a player other than Bronze Bombshell's owner controls it, that player sacrifices it. If the player does, Bronze Bombshell will deal 7 damage to that player. So all we have to do is just donate this creature to one of our opponents. It gets sacrificed immediately, and that opponent takes 7 points of damage. Starting at 20 life, we only need to do this 3 times. 4 copies of Bronze Bombshell. That is one of the spells that we want to donate to our opponents. Another set of spells that we want to donate to our opponents, and this is going even further back than Bronze Bombshell, we are going to include a full playset of Illusions of Grandeur. It's an enchantment that costs 3 in a blue, and it has a cumulative upkeep of 2, which means at the beginning of each one of your upkeeps, you must pay an upkeep of 2, and then 2 more, and then you keep paying that until you can pay it no longer. And it's cumulative, so it's not like it's just 2 and then 2. No, it starts off at 2, then it goes to 4, and then it goes to 6. So you can see that this is really only a temporary enchantment. When Illusions of Grandeur ETBs, we gain 20 life. When it leaves play, you lose 20 life. And effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. So what we want to do is we want to cast Illusions of Grandeur. We want to gain that 20 life, sweet, sweet life. Then at the beginning of our upkeep, we tap 2, we pay the cumulative upkeep, and then we cast a Donate, or we cast a Harmless Offering, or we exchange it with Puka's Mischief, and we give this to our opponents. Our opponent, who is going to be saddled with a cumulative upkeep of at least 4, as long as we get this out of our hands during our first turn after casting it, it's only a matter of time until that opponent ends up losing 20 life. And even if it gets disenchanted, even if it gets bounced, even if it gets exiled, that opponent will still lose 20 life. Yeah, they're going to love getting Illusions of Grandeur from us. 4 copies of Illusions of Grandeur. Like I said, we're being very generous with our spells, folks. All right, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put this on the left-hand side, and we'll explain later as we continue with this deck tech. And the last play set of spells that we're planning to donate to our opponents, it's a much more recent enchantment, but it's no less powerful, and that's going to be a full play set of Demonic Pact. This mythic rare from Magic Origins is 2 and 2 black for a mana value, and at the beginning of our upkeep, we choose one that hasn't been chosen. The first mode says Demonic Pact deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and we gain 4 life. So 4 damage to any target, we gain 4. That sounds great for a mana value investment of 4. Mode number 2, target opponent discards 2 cards. That's pretty good too. Mode number 3, draw 2 cards. Oh, that's just fabulous. Mode number 4, you lose the game. So, whoa, okay, folks, let's look at these modes again. The first 3 modes we want to use. So we definitely want to make sure that we can get the most that we can out of casting Demonic Pact. Once we use up the first 3 modes, we'll just shift to the left. We want to cast a Donate, we want to cast a Harmless Offering, or we want to trigger a Puka's Mischief, and then we want to send the Demonic Pact right over to our opponent and allow our opponent to choose mode number 4, you lose the game. 4 copies of Demonic Pact, and let's appreciate that artwork of Liliana Vess. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, we just don't get artwork like this anymore, folks. Demonic Pact, 4 copies, Magic Origins. Thank you so much. All right, so we have our dozen spells that we want to donate over to our opponents. We have 4 artifacts and we have 8 enchantments. However, I don't think we're done with creating as much trouble as we possibly want to, so let's extend the number of spells that we can potentially have by including a full playset of Mirror Maid. This rare enchantment from Throne of Eldraine has a mana value of 1 and 2 blue, and it reads, when this ETBs, you may have it ETB as a copy of any artifact or enchantment on the battlefield. So if we shift Mirror Maid to the right for a moment, Bronze Bombshell, artifact, Illusions of Grandeur, enchantment, Demonic Pact, enchantment, Puka's Mischief, enchantment. That's right. Also of note, this does not say artifact or enchantment we control. It's artifact or enchantment on the battlefield. So even if we have no options on our battlefield, one of our opponents just might. 4 copies of Mirror Maid. And that's why we're going to put them over here so that we can see we have some spells from this pile that can copy any one of the 12 spells on the left, not including Terminate, of course. All right, next up, with the idea of Mirror Maid in mind, we are going to also include a full playset of Clever Impersonator, 2 and 2 blue as a shapeshifter. We may have Clever Impersonator enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. So this does not have the restriction that Mirror Maid does of it only targeting an artifact or an enchantment. This allows it to become a copy of any non-land permanent. Again, we most likely want to point Clever Impersonator into the direction of Bronze Bombshell, Illusions of Grandeur, or Demonic Pact, and then cast a Donate, a Harmless Offering, or allow Puka's Mischief to trigger and send that on its merry way. 4 copies of Clever Impersonator. And fans of MTG Burgeoning, we are not yet done. So we have to keep in mind that not all opponents are going to think that our generosity is a good thing. They may have it in their arsenal, ways in which to stop our donates, to stop our harmless offerings, to destroy our Puka's Mischief, which puts us in trouble, particularly with the Demonic Pact on the battlefield. Well, we come prepared for that, and by doing so, we are going to include 2 copies of an artifact called Despotic Scepter. It has a mana value of 1, and we can turn it sideways to bury target permanent we own. That just means destroy in today's terms, but back during the terms of Ice Age, it was just bury. So if we get stuck with a Demonic Pact that we can't get out of our battlefield and onto the battlefield of one of our opponents, well, Despotic Scepter to the rescue. We tap it, we bury it, we don't lose the game. 2 copies of Despotic Scepter. And there we have it, folks. That is Kitchen Table Deck Tech number 44. This is Grixis Donate, and this is one of my favorite decks to play. I like being generous with my cards, particularly when I can help accumulate more of a board presence for my opponents. Let me know what you think of this build in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.